afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Democratic View. I'm the hostess. My name is Phyllis Italiano, and with me I have an old friend who I think of every time I pass a can on the side of the road, and I want to stop and pick it up. But of course, there's always a car behind me, so it's hard to do. His name is View-Dell Cullum, and we all know him as the man who cleans and keeps our beaches looking spectacular.
Doing my best, along with many good volunteers, always. Yeah.
Also, by the way, I might add, who is a fellow producer of shows here, which I have watched many times, and I really do love your imagination nature shows.
Thanks, Phyllis.
They're really great.
I really enjoy doing the shows, and I believe that I haven't had time to produce anything new recently, other than the star incident with bumblebees that I hope is airing now. But I think over the summer I'll acquire more material so I can come back with some good quality nature shows for the coming fall or the end of summer, maybe.
You know, I really have to say, nature really, as far as I am concerned, is the thing I don't want to lose at this place that we now live in. Oh. I mean, when I drive sometimes and I look up and I see a hawk in the air, I am thrilled. If I drive along Camp Blue Bay and there's some turkeys, it makes me so happy. I'm so happy to be sharing
it's so beautiful.
Earth with animals and birds and all creatures, living creatures that...
We're very fortunate here in East Hampton. We have such a variety of species here. Yes. Everything from reptiles and amphibians to mammals to you know, just everything, the birds and the shorebirds and the songbirds.
Oh yes.
It's just there's so many different varieties. We're so fortunate, so fortunate.
And one of the things we have to do is keep our area clean so that these creatures can go on living in a healthful environment.
Absolutely.
And so one of the things you do and are noted for is those unbelievably wonderful shoreline sweeps. Do tell us about the last one you had in April.
Okay, well, first of all, we had it in April, so that was a big plus, because the year prior we did it in February, and that was with the elements as they were, was a little bit more difficult, although we did do a wonderful job. This year, I'm very pleased to announce that we did twice as good with twice as many people. That's all I could have asked for. We did it in a much more relaxed manner. We didn't have to keep track of data, what we were picking up. We already had that information. This year, it was just go out there and pick up as much as we can along the shoreline without, you know, weighing it. We didn't have to weigh it. It was just go out there and do it, because we knew what to do. We knew what we could do from the year prior, so we just wanted to do a better job, and we did, and we doubly did. We did cover a few more areas this year other than the shoreline, which was monumental on its own. We did Maidstone Beach, your favorite, okay? We also...
Why I live here, Maidstone Beach.
We also had a group of pretty much all of the residents of Lazy Point who really do everything together. They're quite a group. They like to be known as the custodians of Lazy Point, not just for picking up trash, but for all things, and they truly do. But their contribution to the shoreline sweep was nothing more than amazing. Right. They literally collected a mountain of trash, and it was full of not just garbage debris, bag debris, but large items like pieces of appliances and carts and, you know, just everything you can imagine that, you know, in a different time, different places were used for throwing away stuff. And they found them. and they cleaned it. And they went right around Napig Bay. They did the walking dunes. I mean, these people were in it to do it, and they blew me away. They shocked me beyond belief. I couldn't have been more pleased if we had done nothing but Lazy Point.
That's wonderful to hear.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. I wish I could remember all their names to say, but I'm happy to say I remember that they like to be called the custodians of Lazy Point, and quite a fair title. I mean, they truly are. And
That's wonderful when people have that kind of involvement in their area and community. It's like I mentioned to you, I think, before, is that, you know, I swim at Flaggy Hole and also at the Cove, but don't tell anybody I swim at the Cove.
Right.
Okay, because they might go there too.
Right.
It's my secret place. I guess it ain't going to be a secret anymore. But every time I go to any of those places, I look right, I look left, I pick up every single bit of debris that I can find. And I know my friends who live on Flaggy Hole go down and they clean up the beach as well. We all do it.
Yeah, we all do
it all the time.
And beyond the individual volunteers and the groups, like when I take a group, or whether it's the high school kids, like if John Ryan Jr., who's also a huge help, whether he's bringing any of his middle school kids from the Surf Rider Club, or he's bringing the lifeguards and and along with the Ocean Rescue members. Everybody gets involved, young and old. It's a beautiful thing, and it's all for the right reason, and it's just amazing. Also groups like, you know, you got the Chamber of Commerce, particularly in Amagansett, who does a lot of work with me. And you have Amagansett AVIS, who has a really rough job keeping, you know, as you get closer to Montauk, and I'm assuming the Montauk Chamber and the concerned citizens of Montauk must have an even harder time, because I know where this all flows. It flows to the end, and I know it can be very overwhelming at times. But I do recognize the importance of all these groups and all their hard work, even when it doesn't seem like things are working. I know it will, and as we move along farther, I hope that we can all understand better and easier ways to find this solution.
Well, one of the questions I always have is, particularly when I do see the can on the side of the road going down 3 Mile Harbor. And I know some guy who has been working around threw that can out. And I'm wondering, why can't they have some sense of responsibility to the area that they're probably working in? Or even the visitor who comes and is just going to use our beaches, or the visitor who is a part-time resident here. I don't understand why more people are not aware, and how we can get them to feel responsible, besides you, me, and the people who helped you.
Right. Well, it is getting better, and the education is taking a bigger part in this issue, and I believe it will continue to increase the education. It's reaching the proper people. You know, the youth are getting it now, and they're most important because they can solve it as we get on. But we've got to hand them over something they can work with. Yes. We can't just leave them with the big mess and expect them to fix it. That's where we're at now. So we've got to prepare it correctly. Education is key. Why people don't do the obvious, Phyllis, I've always believed that a lot of it has to do with just look around. Look around. If they do it, why should I do it? And it works like that. If I'm looking at all this trash on the ground, or while I'm driving down Napig Stretch, if nobody's doing anything about it to the point where it looks like this, why do I have to go out of the way and do the right thing? They don't care that there's trash on the road. Let's just throw another piece out. What does it matter? And I honestly believe that. So So it works the opposite way. I believe if we get rid of what's there already, people will look and will be less anxious to throw a piece of garbage in a pristine area, other than throw a piece of garbage where it's already loaded with trash. I mean, that should
No, I think you have a good point
I
there.
think I'm onto something. I really do. If we give them, if we pick up what's there and we show them how beautiful it looks without trash, I believe they'll be less inclined to trash on it. And of course, then if they understand that the community is dedicated to keep it like that through their hard work and efforts, that rubs off as well. I mean, if the people see it, people out there doing something hard work, they're going to be less likely to want to mess it up. I would hope so.
I think that's a very good point, and I will stop the car and pick up the trash that I see now, so that it's in an area where maybe somebody doesn't get to it.
That's right.
And then that will encourage people to keep it. Especially, I will tell you, what really gets me is the plastic bags. I go crazy.
Well, they're on their way out.
I hope so, because let me tell you something. Plastic, as far as I am concerned, is really and truly the most invasive substance. I don't know how we got quite into everything I buy is packed in plastic, and it really upsets me.
I don't like when I get a product and you take the plastic off and there's plastic underneath. It's like a plastic over the plastic. Then you open the box and the actual part or piece is in plastic.
I know.
That to me drives me a little crazy, but that's way farther than something I can.
Absolutely. I mean, that's not in our control. I mean, I sometimes say, well, what did we used to do? Because we didn't have that before. I'm trying to remember my childhood, because I'm years old, and I ought to be able to remember when things weren't packed in plastic.
Exactly.
And they weren't.
Did you happen to see the picture of the balloons on the beach in Montauk this past week?
No,
that was kind of floating around. It was a mess. There must have been hundreds of balloons along the shoreline. I guess they were let go during Memorial Day or what have you, and it just really created quite an eyesore and upset quite a few people. But now people are starting to take a different approach and different look about balloons. And look, no offense to children. I mean, we all love balloons when we're kids, but there's a certain amount of responsibility to everything. Yes, even with balloons.
Yeah. Because
a balloon is, as long as it's floating, it's a balloon. But when it's popped and nothing, it's just a piece of trash.
And it isn't only that, but it kills an animal.
Absolutely. That's the center of the issue. But yeah, once again, I mean, people got to realize when they let go of a balloon, it's just like throwing trash on the ground. This one just goes way up first and then comes back down. And you're right, it can be just like all garbage, Phyllis. It can be potentially a risk to health and safety, to you and me, or the mammals, or terrestrial mammals. It's.
Yes. And the other thing also, besides the health risks to living creatures of all kinds and shapes, there also is the element of our wonderful place that we live. Those of us who live here, want to be here, the people who come here, I can't understand how they don't understand that if we don't take care of this place, we will ruin this place, and then it will be worthless to us. And that goes with all kinds of development as well, with people not caring about, water.
That's true.
I talk about it all the time, the new gold. Water is very precious, and we have to be very careful with what. And and our beaches, are very important. That's what the name of this place is, beach. We must make sure that we keep our bays and the ocean is not quite in our hands alone, but certainly the bays are.
Right.
But and the beaches to be as clean and as pristine as can possibly be.
Well, we're fortunate to have to be able to have the trustees who manage the beaches for the people to be separate from the town or the village, to have its own designation of management. And a lot of watersides don't have that option. We have an incredible historic patent that still is in existence. How wonderful is that? And once again, a wonderful group of people, the trustees that take care of that. That's why I was happy to have them give me a hand most recently by asking them to help me in convincing the village to possibly take those cans off the actual beach. It's just something I never could understand, and I just feel, even though I'm not saying that people won't use them, I just feel that if the cans on the beach heads in the parking lots, which are in the proper place, if they overflow and become a bit unmanageable throughout the season, why would you move that unmanageable situation halfway closer to the water? And in the middle of where everybody relaxes and sits and plays and has their children sit in the sand picking up whatever foreign object. Used to be a no-brainer. Whatever you picked out of the sand was something that came out of the sea, whether it was a beautiful clam shell, a nice little piece of driftwood, a shiny little rock. Now you reach into the sand, Lord knows what you're going to pull out. It's like a surprise, and usually not a good one.
Yes.
So to put a can on the beach and allow that opportunity for a large amount of trash in one area to be vulnerable to not only the elements, but wildlife in general, and which include the seagulls, who have no problem with picking and spreading the stuff all over the beach. But you just can't do it. Because, I mean, we've seen the pictures, I've shown the pictures, there'll be one can and there'll be 15 bags around it because it's full. So, not a place for cans, I don't believe. I think pretty much everybody can agree with that. Fortunately, the majority of the trustees did, and thankfully they've helped in this effort and is going to write a letter to the village and ask them to nicely remove them, which I couldn't be more thankful. I just hope that the village will understand and comply in that manner, and know that it will help us, the volunteers and the people who are picking it up. It'll make their jobs easier.
And on the radar is also a potential law that will make Indian Wells a carry-in, carry-out kind of beach. I don't know if it has actually passed yet, but it certainly is worth a try to see if that will work with people, because the truth of the matter is, no matter what, these, although I will tell you that the beach that I go to one without a lifeguard, and the garbage does not flow around the can.
Mm-hmm.
Most people, whatever they bring or whatever they're throwing out, goes directly into the can,
right.
And that's valuable.
It's a valid option. I'm not quite sure I'm sold on it. I think more education is necessary before you go and pull something like that on the people, especially during this time of year. But to do it on an Indian Wells beach, where it's a residents-only beach, kind of says to me that either you're using them as the guinea pigs, okay, the locals, or you're risking their beach. I don't think that's the proper group of people to be experimenting with.
I would have thought that that group of people would have the most good sense.
Now wait, you're right. It would work, but wouldn't that be obvious? Why waste a good idea on an obvious outcome at an obviously well-maintained beach? I mean, here we have a beach that's been had the bathrooms redone, has the beautiful shack there, so now they have a lot more regulation on everything that happens on Indian Wells Beach. Why invite the obvious? If you're going to take the time to do something, do it. I'm not saying go and hit one of the worst beaches, like any of them in Montauk. No disrespect. But, I mean, a lot of those beaches there have bars associated right on the beachheads. So I think that would, if we had that here in East Hampton or Amagansett, I think we'd have the same problem. I just feel that Indian Wells Beach being the beach to do that at is an easy, it's not going to teach us anything that we don't already know. The locals want to keep the beaches, and the majority of them want to keep their beaches clean, and their town clean for that matter, okay? It's the guests and the visitors. Now, if you want to make this a test or a trial, I understand. But once again, I think the results would be obvious if you did it at Indian Wells. Try it at Atlantic Beach, perhaps. There you have a mix of local and guests. There, the local part aspect of that group can help the educational process that I think we lack before we even should get into something like this. Next year would be a good thing. Let's talk about it now. Let's get the people geared up for it now. Even the summer guests, let's talk about it now, what possibly could happen next year. Let's post it at the beaches. Be advised, next year we're going to do a carry-in, carry-out possibly at this beach. We're going to ask you to blah, blah, blah. Let you take this message now as a time to think about it for next year. That's a big, long way of saying, get ready. Get ready for next year. Don't just throw this in and expect it to be a successful test or a success period. I mean, really, what are the alternatives? So you take away the cans. What is that going to do? You think that's just going to teach people to take their stuff back with them? No, there's got to be a punishment involved. Well, we'll make the fine higher. I think that was what was going to be the alternative. If you did litter and you didn't take your stuff, you'd have a $1,000 fine rather than a $500. Fines mean nothing to people who litter, that are visitors and guests, because they're out here to have a good time. The fines are nothing. It's this a $500 fine just doesn't seem enough to make people start doing the right thing. I say we need proper enforcement, which is difficult. We have a shorthanded staff, and it's dangerous out there during the summer. We can't have police patrolling garbage cans when nobody uses stop signs during the summer and stuff like that. I understand that, but that's what it's going to take, in my opinion. Somebody's going to have to be shown that this is not a game. We're not fooling around. You litter, you pay. Whether it's money or a night in the clink. Whatever it is.
A night in the clink?
You have, hey, there is.
Mackerel.
There is.
That is really something.
Yeah. Well, whatever the case. I mean, if somebody's out there, throwing bottles up in the air and letting them break on the ground, we don't need people like that doing stuff like that. I mean, this last Memorial Day weekend in Amagansett, the roads were full of glass. I mean, who's out there breaking glass on the road? This is a brand new road, nice and clean, and there's glass everywhere. It was just unbelievable to me. I was sad, angry, and then more sad. I just never had seen a place being treated like that. Beach, East Hampton, Montauk, sure it happens. I just haven't been down there to see it. But it just broke my heart.
Well, I understand, and I wish there was some way that we could sort of have a toll gate somewhere that says, where when they come in, we would say to them, now you have to be clean. You can't be messy if you're coming to East Hampton, because
right.
East Hampton is a place for cleanliness.
And you
to
don't need a toll.
godliness.
You don't need a toll. You don't
we
need
don't
a.
have it
All
anyway.
you have to do is is show it clean. You show it clean. Let's clean up what's there. Let's show the people that come here that there's no garbage on our roadsides. Let's show them that we have accommodating receptacles in areas where the trash is overflowing and overwhelming. And if we can do that, then people will treat us and our home the way we treat ourselves and our home. Makes sense.
Got that, folks? From now on, we all have to make sure that we are very careful about our own environment, and that will help other people to learn to keep East Hampton clean.
That's a fact.
Which is what we want.
That's what we want.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Del. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
And please
Thank
make
you.
sure that you keep making those films about animals, because I do love them.
I will do that.
You know, I've learned a lot, by the way.
I learn a lot when I come here. Thank you, Phyllis.
My pleasure, believe me. I really enjoy making sure that people understand that things change unless you take care of them.
Yeah.
And it's what we have to do. We have to take care of this place.
Yes, we do.
Like we do with inside our houses and our lawns and all that garbage.
That's right.
Got to
That's
keep
right.
our streets the same way.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We can do it.
I know we can. You and I will. What the?
We can do it. You and me can do it.
It's true. It's true.